Hello everyone. Uh, let's quickly recapitulate what we talked about in Module 4. So, Module 4 basically talked about introduction to ethical living and professional integrity. So, when we talked about ethical living and professional integrity, we talked about ethical decision making and consequences, how we are supposed to do that, and if we are not supposed to do that, then what wrong did we do? If the wrong that we have done, what consequences or what repercussions it had. Then we also talked about ethics versus laws, how they go hand in hand, how integrity and compliance play a very important role in our professional workplace. We also talked about professional competence with character, how important it is to have a good character, to have good ethical character, to have a good moral compass if we want to succeed as a professional. So, all of it was important. Then we had talked about corruption, we had talked about conflict of interest and workplace responsibilities. So, all of these, how negatively they can affect our growth, we divulged into reading all that. And we also talked about professional codes of conduct. How is it important for an individual? How is it important for a company? How together they can work together within that framework to make the company a success, to help the company have productivity, to have the company some good reputation. Now we begin with Module 5. Today's lesson point 5.1. The Module 5 is going to help us to learn what are the responsibilities of a student as a citizen. So, do you think it is important that since we are living in our country, we need to be not exactly answerable, but then we have to fall in line since we are living in that country? We need to be responsible for something in the country, though it is completely voluntary, nobody is forcing it on you, but then it is morally binding on how you are living. So, we will talk about national citizenship today. How we become a citizen of a place and what are the responsibilities when we gain the citizenship of a place. Be it India, be it any other country, but since we are here, we talk about India. Let's see, what does national citizenship mean? Well, national citizenship refers to the legal status and relationship between an individual and a sovereign state. Now, what is a sovereign state? A sovereign state is a free state where you are free to do things which are ethically correct, which are morally correct. So, if we need to have a legal status, if we need to have legal papers, now what legal papers are we talking about? The legal status is a voter's identity card. You have that, or a Aadhaar card, which is very simple but it is attached everywhere. It gives all your information, it can be used everywhere, whether it is a bank, whether filling it up for a paper, be it anywhere. And it entitles you to so many other assets, it entitles you to so many things which a country can offer to you as a citizen of the country. So many benefits. It signifies a person's membership in a nation. It is a kind of a membership because your Aadhaar card has a number. So you are identified with that particular number, which is not common, that is particular to you. It cannot be issued to any other person, we know that. Granting them specific rights, privilege, and responsibilities under that nation's laws. So there are so many rights that you have. The foremost being that people above 18 years of age can vote. So how do you do that? How do they verify your information? Because all these photo identity proofs do carry all your information, including your address, including your age, including your gender, everything which is mandatory to fall into line. What are the privileges? There are so many privileges, like we have various categories of people, various social backgrounds, various financial backgrounds. So people with various social and financial backgrounds do get privileges. How does that happen? Because that is verifiable with the singular Aadhaar card that has been attached to you. The responsibilities, obviously, nothing comes without a package. So, if we are given certain benefits, then there are certain responsibilities which are entrusted upon us because we have a just nation. We have a nation which has a legal framework which works around us. Though it is not very binding, but yes, it does protect you from not doing or divulging in anything which is wrong, which you should not. Now, here's a breakdown of key aspects related to national citizenship. So, when we are talking about national citizenship, we are talking about India as a nation, where we are at the moment. Definition and distinction from nationality. Now, citizenship and nationality both are a little different. Though they may sound the same, they may be more or less the same area, the same framework, the same system, but yes, a little different. Let's just see how they are different. What is citizenship? What is nationality? So, citizenship is primarily, it focuses on the internal political life of the state, the country where you are living in, means India as a whole. Wherever in India you may be, we have the same constitution that you are following. So, all the people fall under the same binding constitution. It's a legal status that bestows specific civil and political rights and duties. It's a legal process. So, now when we say civil and political rights, what you can do, what you are entitled to. So, when we say entitled to, then obviously duties come with it. When we take a responsibility, we receive a benefit also. So, if we are availing any benefit, then the responsibility will come with it like a parcel. So, that is the legal process, that is a legal paperwork. Now, when we talked about our Aadhaar card, we talked about a passport, everything that is challengeable. Yeah? Nationality, often used in interchangeably with citizenship, but in some context it refers to a person's legal belonging to a nation state, often based on birth, descent, or ethnic origin. How do you stand to gain the nationality of a place? By birth, if you are born there; by descent, if people of your older generation were there; ethnic, if the ethnic class that you belong to is of the country's origin. So, nationality overclouds citizenship, but citizenship is more binding, is more legal binding than nationality. Now, there are ways to acquire national citizenship. It's kind of a formulation, a kind of a framework where you have to fit in. Now, methods of how you can acquire citizenship. And it is different for different countries, but we talk about the very basic. The very basic inclusions are for almost all countries, India included. So, what are the inclusions? By birth, citizenship is granted to individuals born within a country's borders. We know the borders of India, regardless of their parents' nationality. Now, even if your parents do not have the nationality of that particular country, but you are born within a set of country, you automatically gain the citizenship of the country. By descent, citizenship is granted based on parentage or ancestry, regardless of the birthplace. So, if you are not born in a place, but yes, your parents, your grandparents were citizens, they continue to live in a country, you automatically get the citizenship by descent. It is kind of passed on to you. By registration, a process where individuals who meet certain criteria can apply to be registered as citizens. Of how people go and register themselves in foreign countries, they have certain binding rules, they have certain framework that they have to follow, there are certain check boxes that they need to fulfill, and then they are registered in that particular country. By marriage, In some countries, individuals can give citizenship through marriage to a citizen spouse, often after a certain period of marriage and residency. Like how people want to settle abroad and the other person or your spouse is already a citizen of the other country. So, again, therein, it is just not an overnight process. Once you are married, you have to wait for a certain period in time, and you have to wait or you have to continue staying and living in that particular country or in that particular nation. It is then that your papers are considered and then you are given the citizenship of the country. By naturalization, now what is naturalization? This is a common pathway for foreigners who have legally resided in a country for a set period, met specific requirement, and then apply to become citizens. Now, if we go back to by marriage, that is just a little thing there that when you're wedded as a spouse, the procedure, however, more or less remains the same. Because here in marriage, you do see that often after a certain period of marriage and a certain time of residing there. Okay. Now, in naturalization, it does say that you have legally resided in a country for a set period. So, you need to be in a country without a break for a certain amount of time and you meet all other legal requirements, and then you can apply to become the citizen of that particular country. Citizen by investment. Now, some countries offer citizenship in exchange for significant investment in their economy. Suppose a businessman wants to shift, what can he do? He can go and invest into the economy of that country, go and invest into the business of a country so that they see progression, they see financial benefit, they see financial stability that the person can bring about. So that is citizenship by investment. But for citizenship of investment, you need a lot of paperwork, you need a lot of monetary support. It is only then that is possible, not otherwise. Rights and responsibilities of national citizens. Citizenship comes with both rights and responsibilities. It is a barter system which vary by nation. And what do they generally include? The kind of rights that you can get after you become a national citizen. There's something, a paid back kind of a thing to gain the citizenship. So, what all do you get from there? It is political rights, the right to vote, run for a public office. Public office is the local government, and to participate in the political process. Political process again, voting and other things that happen related to politics. What else? Civil rights. Rights to equality before the law, that you can, whatever plea you may have or any grievance that you may have, you can bring it to the court of law. Freedom of speech and expression, that is the basic, we know that you can speak anything but not anything which is derogatory. Express anything but for your benefit, not to put anything down or not to hamper any system, not to get illegally involved. Freedom of religion, we all have diversified religions, we know how to practice them, so the freedom is given to you to continue practicing your religion. Freedom of assembly and due process. So all these freedoms are very beneficial for a person to survive well in a country. Social and economic rights, which are very, very important for us to survive and thrive. Rights to education, all of us need. Health care, all of us need. Social security, certain countries do it very, very well. And the ability to work and reside in the country. Ability to work means ability to do a job or to work for a company of your own liking, which can pay you well, which can make your life well and credible. Protection abroad, all of us need to feel protected, all of us need to feel safe. The right to diplomatic protection from their home country when traveling or residing in other nations. Now we talk about embassies. Now all bigger countries have embassies of their own in the countries where they allow their citizens to visit, whether it is a multiple visa that you hold, whether it is a single time visa that you hold. So if you are visiting another country, suppose India, India has its embassies in different countries. Why? Because people of Indian origin, if they are into any kind of trouble, can approach these embassies and have their matters sorted out without getting into too much of trouble, without falling into too much of framework, a easy one-stop shop kind of a thing for citizens. Now, when you get the rights, then you have responsibilities also. So let's see what are the responsibilities that come entailing with it. Obeying laws, we know we have to. So adhering to the laws and regulations of the country, which is very important morally and ethically. Paying the taxes, we have to. Contributing to the nation's welfare through taxes, because then the nation works in a unified force. Everything that you contribute comes back to you in some or the other form. Defending the country, in some nations this may include military service. Every country has a military service, yeah, though with different names, with different frameworks, but yes, every country does, we know that. Civic participation, engaging in the community, such as serving on juries or volunteering. So, you may be very privileged if you're serving on a jury, or your nature of work is such that you're serving on a jury, or you can simply volunteer. Volunteers basically play a very, very important and imperative role, because volunteering, how does it help you? It keeps you morally satisfied, it keeps other people morally in track, because you are by experience leading them. Respecting rights of others, when we have our own rights, obviously the other person also have their rights, so we cannot go encroaching onto another person's rights. Upholding the rights and freedom of fellow citizens, people who are living, residing with you, not to encroach upon their rights. Okay, now see, when we live in India, we talked about a constitution which is legally binding. So, the constitution, let's see what it says, what it does. The constitution is the supreme law of the land and is the bedrock of citizens' rights and responsibilities. It gives you rights, it gives you responsibilities. Responsibilities you are answerable to. Part 3 of the Constitution, Article 1235, enshrines the fundamental rights of Indian citizens. So, fundamental rights are basically privileges that a citizen has. A privilege is basically how you can live, how best you can live. Quality of life improves. So, it is right to equality that is enlisted in Articles 14 to 18. What does it give you? Ensures equality before the law, prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, and provides for equality of opportunity in public employment. It also abolishes untouchability and titles. Okay, we know how bad the phase or the gray area of untouchability is. We are still overcoming it. Then we have the right to freedom, that is enshrined in Article 19 to 22. Guarantees freedom such as speech, expression, assembly, association, movement, residence, and the right to practice any profession or occupation. Also includes protection in respect of conviction for offences, any illegal thing which is happening, protection of life and personal liberty if there is encroachment on your personal space, including the right to education. We know that children have the right to be educated, and protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. We know it is a legally binding factor, but yes, we do have our legal rights in place also. Then we have right against exploitation. Article 23-24 prohibits forced labor and child labor. You cannot be forced into doing any work unless you want to. And yes, child labor is something which is very, very wrong. But then our country needs to be educated. Where there are completely rural areas where there are constraints of livelihood. So here, if you see in the slide also, do you think it is a happy picture of very small children working? It isn't. Right to freedom of religion. Article 25 to 28 guarantees freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, talk about your religion, practice it, follow it, and propagate religion. Propagate means not to forcibly do it, but yes, to talk about it in the good way. It also allows for the management of religious affairs and freedom from taxes for the promotion of any particular religion. It's important to note that Indian law is dynamic, very good, and constantly evolving through legislative amendments and judicial interpretations. Now, in legal systems, stagnation cannot happen. Why? Because times are changing, the needs are changing, so the system also has to change according to the times and needs. For specific legal advice, it is always recommended to consult with a legal professional. They have all the information that we may require. They may channelize our requirement, our need, our process into the correct direction. So, here in 5.1, we talked about how national citizenship works. What are the rights which are given to us? What are the benefits which are given to us? What are the responsibility which comes entailing with it? And how we need to justify our living, we need to live well, how we need to live